Today's the day. We are headed in for OCREVUS day 1. So as you can tell, I did survive my first OCREVUS infusion. Today is Wednesday. My infusion was on Sunday, and kind of life just got in between. I had intended on filming a little bit each day. Instead, I wrote down how I was feeling. So the infusion went really well. I was going to record there, and it was very close quarters. It's sort of a long room with multiple recliners right next to each other, and there were quite a few patients there receiving medications and infusions, and I just didn't want to infringe on their privacy. So I did have my husband take a picture of me in my recliner when there wasn't a whole lot of people around, so you guys saw that. And I'll say it went really smoothly. We got there about 10 to 15 minutes early, and we ended up having to wait in a waiting room out front until the nurses were ready for us. They called us back. There's a restroom you can use, and I do have sort of that MS bladder that has to go often, so I emptied my bladder a whole bunch of times before I was going to be hooked up, and then once while I was already connected to the treatment. I had a bad experience getting an IV, but the second nurse came in and did a wonderful job. And it's just a large room. There's 2 big TVs. Almost everybody was kind of plugged into their phones with earbuds in. And prior to the infusion, they're going to pre-medicate you. So I received 75 milligrams of Benadryl, and I believe it was 100 milligrams of Tylenol, and then 300 milligrams of IV steroids. It's just a push that they do in your IV once they've started your line. And that's obviously to just prevent any kind of reaction to the medication once it gets pumped into you. Now, you do have those same medications immediately following your infusion. Once it's finished, she came right back over and again gave me the Tylenol and the Benadryl, not the steroids. And then something I didn't realize was that I was going to have to stay around for an hour after the infusion finished, just for observation of any kind of reaction. So obviously the things that can happen are you can feel very itchy, you can have scratchy throat, you can start running a temperature, rapid heart rate. There's a slew of reactions. I expected to have all of them because I am that 1% of patients that usually do. I didn't. So it was very nice and unexpectedly nice. So once she started the infusion, I was pretty tired. My husband was with me. They allowed husbands, wives, whoever came with you to stay there, and that's why the room is crowded. You've got the patient and then whoever's with them or accompanying them next to you. And so he stuck around. We don't live far from the infusion center, so I shooed him away. I knew I was going to nod off with the Benadryl. Now, not all recliners are created equal, and there were definitely some chairs in there. I started off in one and realized very quickly I wasn't going to be comfortable and asked if I could move. So be smart if all the chairs are not the same in your infusion center. Choose wisely. And the nurse was great. She explained everything, and then once I was hooked up, I was already pre-medicated with the Benadryl, so I was very drowsy. So I think turned on Friends on Netflix in my ears and just reclined in my recliner, dozed off. They had little pillows and blankets to make everybody comfortable, and before I knew it, they were actually somewhat waking you up about every 30 minutes for your vital signs, just quick little temperature on your forehead and blood pressure. That didn't bother me, and I just dozed off the whole time. If you have a reaction, what they'll do is they'll stop the infusion and then they'll go ahead and slow down the drip. Because I did not have any reaction, I think it was about every 15 or 30 minutes at the beginning, they would bump up the speed of the infusion. So that was very good, that it kind of went quickly for me. So my actual infusion started around 11:30. My appointment was for 10 a.m. on a Sunday. And it was very nice. My husband didn't have to take a day off of work. They do recommend you to bring someone just because of the Benadryl and just how you're feeling, just to have someone drive you. And I normally just buckle down and do it myself, but he insisted. So that was very nice to get it on a Sunday, not have to plan on doing that during the week. And it was great. The infusion lasted, I want to say, until about 1:30, and at that point she turned the pump off and there was just a little bit of medication left in the line. She went ahead and let that go through and infuse, and then at that point we started the clock for countdown, an hour of observation till I could leave. And I will say that literally as the last few drops were clearing the line and going in to my hand where my IV was, I got a little tiny reaction, and all it was a little bit of a scratchy throat. Nothing alarming. Honestly, I'll take that any day of the week, but that did happen. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And then my husband was already back way before the infusion finished, and we just sat around. They have snacks and drinks to offer you. Your infusion will be on a pole most likely, so you can wheel that pole into the restroom if you need to, and I did have to. And it went very well. So coming home, I was pretty drowsy from the second dose. That's 150 milligrams in 1 day of Benadryl, so that was a lot for me. So I just laid on the bed. I did have the normal steroid reactions that I have. As soon as they put it in, I could taste the metal in my mouth. Once I got home, my heartbeat just got kind of rapid. I was very sweaty, very sweaty. Just laid down on my bed for a while until evening, until dinner time. Once we got home, we arrived home just before 3 o'clock and took it easy. And I'm sure that as I've been infused in the future and see how I react, it will probably go better, I'm hoping. Because I received that 300 milligrams of steroids, I am immune compromised. I think I am getting a little something. I've got a bit of a sore throat. It just can't be avoided. So you have to do really good hand washing and just be really smart about not touching your face, being careful when you're out and about, and it is what it is, right? So other than that, I would say it went really well. Now your infusion, the first time, is split into 2 parts, and you have to receive that within 2 weeks of each other. So the tricky thing is, we've had a vacation planned for a year. It's a cruise, non-refundable, and we just really couldn't change our plans. So it was really nice. We were able to schedule my first infusion for before the cruise, and then the day after we return, I will receive the second part. So the infusion is 600 milligrams, and the first time they split it into 2 300 milligrams. So we'll see how the second round goes. I'll definitely do an update video for you guys. But the days following were pretty uneventful. The first day following, I did feel wonderful. I did way too much. Too bad I didn't accomplish anything. It was just running my daughter around and catching up with friends along the way. She had a little thing to go to, and I ended up talking with some friends, and I definitely think that was the steroids. Now, did I wake up and feel cured? No. Did I still feel like I had MS that day? Probably by the end of the day. But I did definitely feel great the second day. I'm sorry, that's the first day after the infusion. Now, the second day following the infusion, I still had quite a bit of energy, but it felt very hot. It was afternoon, evening, so day 2 after the infusion, about 48 hours, just felt really, really warm. And that's not like me. I didn't have a fever or anything, so I just made sure to, splash some cold water on my face. I actually wet a washcloth and wrung it out and put it on my forehead, on my neck. That was kind of hard to fall asleep feeling really hot on the inside, so that could be a reaction. And that was 2 days after the infusion. And then day 3, which is today, I'm pretty tired. But I did a lot in the last 2 days, and it's warm, but it's very humid, and humidity always gets to me. I will be putting up a video soon about heat tolerance and multiple sclerosis, but I can't complain. I didn't get as much sleep as I normally do, and so kind of figured today I wouldn't get as much done as I wanted, although what I want to do is probably not a normal expectation anyways. So day 3, feeling a little tired and run down. I did try to lay down and nap twice, unsuccessfully, couldn't sleep. So I'll probably sleep well tonight. And we'll see how the rest of the week goes. We'll be packing for vacation, getting things ready, and I'm sure it'll fly by, but I've got a million things to do. And I'm excited to see how infusion number 2 goes. And then 6 months after, we'll get the second dose, quote unquote, but it'll be the first full dose, and that'll be in December sometime. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated, and I hope you enjoyed hearing how my first OCREVUS infusion went. And I'll see you back really soon. Infusion, motorcycle, always, or dog, or the trash man, always.